More homeowners than ever are having trouble selling their houses due to rising interest rates and a stagnant housing market. And now they're becoming accidental landlords. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fact that the housing market has really started to just get stagnant all throughout the country. And that's all caused by the rising interest rates, okay? So as everyone knows, the Fed came out and they rose the interest rates again. And interest rates are sky high right now, averaging above 7% for the first time in something like 30 years. So it's crazy. But, this needs to happen. I'm one of those people who was calling it out a long time ago saying that, hey, inflation is coming. We need to, in order to get this thing back in check, they have to raise these interest rates. It's going to be painful in the short term, but it's what we need for the long term, okay? I'm one of those people who believes that, and I do think the Fed is doing the right thing, but man, it's going to suck. Not just for real estate investors, okay? It's going to suck for small businesses, for anyone who wants to borrow money, okay? And our economy right now is based upon people constantly borrowing money. So when you slow that down, that's going to put a huge dent in the economy. And eventually it's going to lead to a lot of people losing their jobs. So unemployment's going to be shooting up and it's going to look very, very bad. But in the long run, it's much better than the position that countries, I believe Turkey was one of the countries that has like something crazy like 85% inflation in the last year. Okay, we don't want to see that sort of thing happening here. And because our Fed, our Federal Reserve Bank has stepped in and rose interest rates, our inflation isn't as bad as Europe right now. So, we're still in a pretty strong position, but it could get a lot worse. And, one of the signs of that is the fact that, hey, right now people are having trouble selling their houses. And instead of selling their homes, because they have locked in such great interest rates, they're renting them out. They're becoming landlords. And I don't think a lot of these people wanted to be landlords. That wasn't their intention. Their intention was, hey, we're going to buy this house. Eventually we're going to sell it and, make a nice hefty profit with all of the, prices going up, appreciation, etc., and be able to move on into somewhere else. Well, when they can't sell those homes, they have to figure out something else, and they just kind of fell into being a landlord. And this is not a good situation to be in if you didn't intend on becoming a landlord in the first place. I know a lot of people, they buy a home and then they move on to their next home and they turn that first home into a rental property, but that isn't the ideal situation for being a landlord. And a lot of times those people, those small landlords, end up really getting burned badly because they don't know all of the ins and outs of the business. They don't know proper tenant screening. They don't know how much rent they're supposed to be charging. And they get hurt. They get hurt. Tenants will take advantage of them, or just they could get caught up in the fact that the costs are higher than they originally planned. When they were living in the house, no, it wasn't that expensive. But now that they've got a tenant in there and they've got to, repair stuff for the tenant and they've got to do all this other stuff, well, guess what? If you're not charging enough rent, you're going to end up just pulling money out of your own pocket to subsidize the tenant's lifestyle. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, interesting situation. And, this article is really going to go over that whole thing in the terms of one little specific city. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know about you, okay? Now, have you ever lived in a house and then moved out and then rented that house out after you left? I know I've done it, and I've done it purposefully 3 times, okay? That was how I was able to purchase 3 of my properties with very low down payments. One of them I used the FHA loan, 3.5% down. Another one I put 5% down, and then the third one I put another 5% down. They always have really great deals for people who plan on occupying their home as a primary residence, right? Where you only have to put 5% down. Now, if you purchase a property as an investment property, for a single family home, you have to normally put down minimum 15%, sometimes 20%. So yeah, putting 5% down and being able to get into 3 separate properties doing that same thing was a pretty great thing for me, helped me grow my portfolio, and it worked out great. So I'm just curious if other landlords have done the same thing. So let's get into this article. This article is coming from krdo.com, and it says, Accidental Landlords, the new phenomenon hitting the Colorado Springs housing market. And it's an interesting article. It's going over Colorado Springs, but it really does, work out for the same way all throughout the country. So let's get into it. As homes sit stagnant on the Colorado Springs housing market, selling for prices lower than this summer, many property owners are deciding to rent out their homes, becoming what realtors call accidental landlords. Drew Bartlett, a business development manager for Dorman Real Estate, says the phenomenon happens when property owners are unable to get the selling price they hope for. Data from the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors shows that the average and median selling prices for homes in Colorado Springs this October are lower than the summer months. And yeah, this is something that's happening throughout the country. And the reason those prices are lower is because the interest rates go up. The amount that people can afford in terms of a monthly payment has gone down. And, that's unfortunate. And the sellers, right? The people who are trying to sell their houses, they haven't come to the reality yet that, hey, we're not going to be able to get those super high prices that houses were selling for just earlier this year. Now, I realized all this, right? So, you know what I did? I went out there and I refinanced 4 houses, in the very early months of this year because I knew interest rates are going up and I wanted to get as much cash out of those houses as possible before their values declined, okay? So yeah, I knew what was going on. I was like, yeah, I got to go and refinance as many houses as possible, lock in, sub 4% interest rates, and I did it. I just was jumping through hoops. In fact, I ended up, because one of the closings took a little bit longer, I had to pay the bank, I think, an extra like $500 to lock in an interest rate below 4%. But I paid that $500 because I was like, hey, you know what? This 4% interest rate is going to save me, just thousands of dollars over the years. So yeah, it's definitely worth $500, okay? But now we're in a position where, hey, if you want to buy a house right now, you're going to be paying interest rates that are double what they were earlier this year. So home buyers, they have significantly less buying power, and the end result is that, hey, there's going to be more supply, or while the demand has gone down, so prices are going to decrease. Now my thought is that hopefully the housing market kind of stables off. I don't think we're going to see super low interest rates for years. I honestly don't. I think we should get used to seeing 7-8% interest rates. I honestly think that's what we're going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future, at least for the next few years, right? Now, I still think that real estate investment is a great thing, but you have to work your numbers. Do not overpay, thinking that interest rates are going to go down and you'll be able to refinance. I just don't see that as being possible. Now, there are, of course, ways to get your interest rate lower, like, you can points, pay for points. You can put a shorter term on the loan, like instead of a 30-year mortgage, you get a 15-year mortgage. That will bring the interest rate down. There's other ways to get the rates down. Adjustable rate mortgages, of course, they always have a lower interest rate than fixed rate mortgages. And, it's a little bit more risky, but if your strategy calls for using them, then it's a great opportunity. I do have adjustable rate mortgages. I did have a 15-year mortgage, but those were things that you have to work out in your math and figure out, hey, is this property going to cash flow? And if you're not doing that, if you're one of these accidental landlords and you've got this property at this super low interest rate and you're like, oh, okay, well, my mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, so I'm going to charge $2,000 a month rent. And then guess what? You've got all these repairs and other incidental costs that are involved. You're actually supplementing, or you're subsidizing. I'm sorry, not supplementing. You're subsidizing your tenants' cost of living by allowing them to live cheaper at your house than they could actually afford to live there if they owned it themselves. So these are lessons that a lot of accidental landlords are just going to have to learn through experience, and then figure out if this is really what they want to be doing long term. Do they really want to hold this house, or are they trying to hold out? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the best option is in some cases where, if you're going to be upside down, I do think that, renting your house out until the market sort of recovers, and that might be 5, 10 years down the line, right? But if there's been a big price drop, and if you sold the house, you're going to be upside down. It's going to take a little while to be able to get the prices back up to where they were before. So yeah, I mean, it's not a good thing, but I don't see any problem with it. And it could end up making you wealthier overall if you're able to maintain for those 5 to 10 years. Because regardless of whether the prices go up or not, you're going to be paying that debt down. And hopefully you'll be making a little bit of cash flow on top of that. This is why I tell people, real estate is magnificent in terms of building wealth. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they only see, well, they think the whole thing is just the cash flow. It's not. Okay, I've made a huge amount more money from long-term appreciation. I mean, it just is unbelievable how much money you can make with long-term appreciation versus the cash flow. The cash flow is nothing by comparison. It really is just a little something to get you by in the short term. But when you refinance a house and you pull out $100,000, well, that's the money that you're looking to get. Okay, so yeah, I do think that there are going to be a lot of accidental landlords with interest rates going up. We'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen, if interest rates are going to stabilize or if they're going to go even higher. I personally think that they are going to go higher and they're going to stay there for a while. But I'm no monetary expert, right? I just see that the inflation itself isn't declining or isn't stabilizing in the way that they want. And so because of that, I think their only option is to continue to rise the interest rates.